Greetings, I'm back in touch. And I want to congratulate you right away. You've made it to my third video, and that's really something. An achievement. And today I'll start by telling you a story that my father told me. At that time, he was still working at a holiday home. This was during the communist era. As you know, I was born in the city of Kabylie. It's a small town on the coast of the Black Sea. A very resort-like town, and there we had many holiday homes. And one day, my dad heard two of his colleagues, well, after naturally having a certain amount of alcoholic drinks, start discussing the management of the holiday home. That it's not right to manage it that way, that the Communist Party is also doing something wrong like that. And so they were making these highbrow speeches about how everything is working incorrectly and so on. Well, you know, these grandiose highbrow speeches of workers who know best how to manage the country, the world, politics, and everything in the world. They know how to do everything, but often except for their own work. And then it just gets amazing. Dad approaches them and says, "Listen, guys, can you please tell me, why does a bumblebee with its very thick body and small wings manage to fly, even though according to all the laws of aerodynamics it shouldn't be able to?" They, fell silent. They thought about it and said, "We don't know." And then my dad's brilliant response: "Well, if you don't even understand this, then why are you getting into economics at all?" And that's it. Actually, after that, no one had such dialogues with anyone anymore. By the way, about the bumblebee, it's really an incredible fact. According to all the laws, it really shouldn't be able to fly. All our laws that we humans know, like the laws of aerodynamics and so on, that is, it has a large body and small wings. Physically, it cannot fly. Absolutely. But the bumblebee doesn't know that. And accordingly, it doesn't know because no one told it. And so it just simply goes and flies. And that's it. You can't even imagine how cool this works. I'll even tell you another real story. This real story confirms that a person is essentially like a bumblebee, just in the human world. Because in our world, it's the same. Although, let me actually show you this video about this phenomenon.
It began back in 1914, when in a family of Jewish immigrants who settled in Portland, USA, a boy named George was born. His father was a math teacher, and his mother was a linguist at a library. I won't talk about George's early childhood, as there's nothing remarkable about it. He grew up like an ordinary boy of those years and didn't particularly stand out from his peers. The only thing his father literally made him do was to study geometry intensively. It's probably hard to say that the boy was crazy about it. But one way or another, he obeyed his parent and initially completed simple tasks given by his father, and closer to finishing school, even quite challenging ones. But be that as it may, he certainly wasn't a genius. And even though he understood the science quite well, what was the result? And it allowed him to enroll at the University of Maryland in the mathematics department, but he was still just an ordinary student, indistinguishable from hundreds, and even thousands like him. Moreover, George often allowed himself to skip classes, for which he was frequently punished with additional assignments. And by the way, it is from this moment that we approach the most important part, to something that might change your perspective on the world around you. So imagine this situation. University of California, Berkeley, 1939. A 25-year-old student named George is running down one of the long corridors of the building. For unknown reasons, as often happened. Before this, he is once again late for the class of his instructor Jerzy Neyman, who teaches statistics. Moreover, he is 20 minutes late. Barely catching his breath for a few seconds before entering the classroom, he quietly opens the door and steps inside. The guy wants to be unnoticed, so he quickly sits at a desk. Then, turning his head, tries to figure out what he missed. But, looking at the teacher's face, he realizes that this is far from the best moment to draw attention to himself. By the time he arrived in the classroom, the conditions of two problems were already written on the board. Aha, it's all simple, thought George. This must be the homework for the next class. After that, the irresponsible student copied the problems into his notebook and started listening to the professor while continuing to think about his own matters. Be that as it may, friends, once he got home after classes, He regretted 3 times that he was late for that class. The problems were really difficult, and the guy thought that he probably missed something important for solving them, something the teacher told the students at the beginning of the lesson. However, there was nothing to be done, and he had to rack his brain quite a bit for several days until the next lesson. Statistics, to finally solve them and complete the homework. And to jump ahead a little, I'll say that everything turned out to be both simpler and much more complicated at the same time. A few days later, the satisfied student dropped by the professor's office and handed him the notebook with the homework. The instructor, in turn, absent-mindedly took the notebook without taking his eyes off the board, where he was sketching something before the class. Yes, well, all right. Of course, he didn't immediately remember that he hadn't assigned anything like that to the students and automatically placed the notebook on his desk for review. Almost 2 weeks have passed since then, and the guy still hasn't received a response from Professor. Moreover, during the next class, the instructor approached George after the lesson and said that his assignments were still under review. This made the guy even more nervous, as such a lengthy review could end badly for him, considering the fact that the midterm evaluation was approaching. But what happened next is hard to explain in words. After some time, George was summoned to the dean's office, and he had a bad feeling before going there. But when he opened the door to the office, he saw that there were already several men he didn't recognize, and the statistics professor along with the dean. It's hard to describe what our student felt at that moment, and perhaps he was already bracing for the worst, but the professor's words surprised him. "Congratulations, George! How did you come up with this? Did you figure it out yourself, or did someone help you?" And even though the guy couldn't figure out what was being discussed, he still asked, "Professor, what are you talking about?" After which Jerzy Neyman showed him that very notebook with the homework. And as it turned out, he had done everything correctly. Only it wasn't homework at all. When some time later the professor checked the notebook that the student had brought him, his eyes nearly popped out of his head. He remembered that indeed, at the beginning of one of the lectures, he had told the students the conditions of these 2 problems. But the thing is, he had written on the board the conditions of 2 unsolvable problems. 2 problems that were a mystery and that not only the professor himself and other brilliant minds of that time couldn't solve, but no one in the entire world could. The most outstanding mathematicians were toiling over them for several decades, and even the most renowned scientists could only shrug their shoulders. However, George simply didn't know that they were unsolvable, and due to a series of silly circumstances, he just missed the part where it was mentioned that no one had managed to solve them yet, in the entire world. That's right, after pondering over them for just a few days, he actually solved them. In the dean's office were professors from the Mathematical Academy of Sciences of the USA, who had also come to congratulate the unfortunate student. And the full name of this hero: George Bernard Dantzig, a renowned scientist of the 20th century and the developer of the algorithm used in solving problems with the simplex method. He is also considered the founder of linear programming and became the first recipient of the von Neumann Prize in 1974. Later, our unfortunate student received the National Medal of Science of the USA and became an honorary doctor of the University of Maryland. And in the 1970s, he was elected to the National Academy of Sciences of the USA, the National Academy of Engineering, and the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. He left behind a multitude of various works and books, but none of this would have happened, and most likely no one would have heard his name if he had arrived on time for that class back then. At least, that's what Professor George Dantzig himself said with a smile. Sometimes you can do the impossible, something that no one has done before you. And all of this is only possible if you don't convince yourself that the impossible is indeed impossible. If I had arrived to class on time and heard that these problems were unsolvable, I certainly would never have been able to solve them. That's what George Dantzig always said when asked how he managed to do it all.
As you can see, it's really cruel. The person didn't hear that these problems couldn't be solved, so he just went ahead and solved them for real. Well, it's simply mega important. We very often don't achieve success in life precisely because we're constantly told that it's impossible. Yeah, who are you to be rich? You don't have money. Yeah, you don't have connections. Yeah, you don't have the looks and so on, and in the same vein. And most people, I would even say probably 90 to 95%, believe this nonsense that's fed to them. That's why they live that other life imposed by other failures. Notice, in 100% of cases, not even 99%, but in 100% of cases, this nonsense is told to you by failures. who themselves haven't achieved anything in life. Notice, just pay attention to this. It's as if these failures really don't want anyone to succeed. And that's why they pour these negative things into everyone's ears. And if a person believes it, that's it. Their whole life will become ordinary, just like those failures who kept telling them this. Don't let this happen. Don't allow anyone's opinion to take root in your mind. This is extremely important. Otherwise, they will ruin your entire life. When you listen to their opinion, you start to doubt. And what does doubt mean? Just think about the word itself. Doubt, co-opinion. That is agreement with another opinion. You apply their opinion to yourself and agree with it. And this is extremely harmful because you start living someone else's life. So, as I said before, we are all professors, just megalodons at coming up with a bunch of excuses. Now, I'm going to show you the next experiment. And as usual, every fact that I will tell you, I will back up with a world clip, an advertisement, or some famous person who will confirm my words for you. Let's watch the clip.
I'm weak, slow, big, full, have a headache. It's raining and my dog got sick with him. Shoes, no inspiration, 2 dads. I'm allergic, I'm fat, it's hot, not ready, sick at will. Your cable pushes itself out of this. Exhausting, I'd like to, but I can't help but receive different favorite things to pass on Monday. A hard day, pull-up bar Wednesday. I don't want to, let's do something else. In my weeks, I lay a little, I blew up, I'll get myself a date, Liner hates me, he's mannered. Does he allow bruises and will we? But alright, Valder hurts. It's dangerous. Sorry, I'm too big. No, didn't get enough sleep. Stomach hurts. It's not mine. I don't want to be older. The coach is bad. I don't like being knocked down. Having pain stomach. I'm not athletic. I don't want to be strong. There are more interesting things. I don't want to bother you. Maybe I shouldn't. When will I get something next time? And my legs hurt.
If you don't kill the Professor Klepet, nothing will work out for you from the mask. You know, when people tell me I'm not motivated, give me some motivation. I might reveal a secret to someone right now. A very important secret. There is no motivation. There is absolutely none. It simply doesn't exist in nature. But just think about what motivation is. Look, when you're hungry, do you need motivation to eat? I think you don't need it. You either want it, or you don't want it. And if you don't want it, that's when you need some additional incentive. And you think, darn, what could they tell me? What kind of magic phrase could they say to me? Maybe if they tapped me on the head with a magic wand, I would want to do it. How do you even imagine it? And you know what's most important? Millions of dollars are made today on such fools by motivational, various, trainers, and others. These chatterboxes. A whole industry is built on this, a huge industry is constructed on this. When I start watching some motivational trainer like that, I think, do people really fall for this nonsense? Really, do they fall for it? And what's funny is that people come from all walks of life, and there are so many of them. They come to listen to what they're being told there. And what are they being told there? Well, essentially, yes, what are they being told there? Go, do it, don't be afraid, you're awesome, you can do anything. And you're like, you know, you listen to them, cool. Yeah, as if I didn't know this before, but you told me, now I know, so now I got up and went to do it. And do you know what the whole secret is? The most interesting thing, right? This motivation lasts for a maximum of 2 days. And then this person tried, and suddenly thought, something's not working for me anymore, it's become kind of difficult. And so he thinks like this. Okay, after what did I suddenly start acting like this? Aha. Right after that motivation. And he runs back to that motivator again. And says to him, well, Tell me some more important words so that I want to do something. And, of course, they reply, no problem, now it's 100,000 rubles, or $1,000. Just lay it out here, and we'll tell you some cool words. And you are like, yes, of course, here, take it, please, here's $1,000 for you. I felt so great when you were telling me something. And they tell him basically the same thing again. You can do it, go ahead. We believe in you, you're a cool guy, go ahead, take action. And again, for 2 days, at most. And entire industries make huge money off of such real fools. Just huge money. You see, really, there's no motivation, it's just that they made a good, cool business. This motivation, whether you want it or not, it's all so simple, there's no other way. If you don't want it, you start coming up with 1,000 excuses too. We are really professors in this field, like super professors, we really have a ton of problems. But, how could I do it? I have this, I have that situation, I don't have internet, my phone is bad, my laptop is weak. I have a nasty boss, I have 2 kids, 5 kids. I have this, I have that, and so on. A billion different justifications, all sorts of excuses. Yet everyone wants to live in their own house, by the ocean, driving a Bentley, and generally being a super cool guy. And preferably not work while money is brought in bags. For what? Such a simple question. For what? For having green eyes, right. For being so handsome. Cool, right. If it were like that, I would want that too. Now, understand, you know who the most motivated person is. I'll let you in on a little secret. Although I'm sure you've probably heard it a million times already. But I'll repeat it once more, so you understand that motivation is complete nonsense, total rubbish. You're being fooled if someone wants to motivate you. The funniest part is that when I make people earn money, it sometimes shakes me, but we really do make people earn money. Just think about it, it's really funny. And the funniest part is, they even resist. So, the most motivated person is the one who needs to go to the bathroom. Remember that feeling. So, imagine, probably the most determined person in the world is the one who needs to go to the bathroom. All obstacles really seem insignificant. You don't care about anything at all. Agree, it's funny to hear a phrase like, I wet myself because, well, I didn't have time to go to the bathroom. Or, for example, I was too tired. Or I lost hope and didn't believe I could make it in time. Or, for example, well, of course, he made it because his legs are so long. Or, for instance, this task is beyond me. I've already tried 5 times, and 5 times I failed. I'll never be able to make it in time. Or there's the classic excuse, right? This isn't for me. Or I knocked on the bathroom door, and no one opened it for me. I lacked motivation, I was depressed. I had more important things to do, I don't have money, so I can't afford it. Or decided to postpone it for better times. People really love all sorts of excuses. But to achieve a goal, you need to find a motivating factor as strong as the urge to go to the bathroom. And then, you'll do everything. Now imagine if you have that same motivation for something big. Then no doors will really stop you on your way. You won't care where you have to go. You'll do what you need to do. And you know what's most important. With every minute, the time is running out. And you can't push it back. That's what is called a deadline. So next time you find out or hear about the time frame you set for achieving any goals, those are your deadlines. And always remember the person running to the bathroom who has very limited time. And the best part is, they always know their time frame. They know the time frame clearly, the goal is clearly set, clear time frames, clear deadlines. That's it. That's motivation. But there's another category of people, I really like them too, they try everything, they truly, honestly try everything. There, like, you know. Like this IBD, imitation of vigorous activity. They're bustling around, doing something, calling someone, doing some pointless, useless actions, some useless tasks, but essentially, they're busy all day long. It seems like their whole day is occupied, but there's very little result. And this phrase, you know, it's not meant to be. That's it, I've tried everything, it's my fate. Or maybe I was born this way. I'd better go to an astrologer. What if I started on the wrong day? Well, for example, the stars didn't align. What if this month I can't achieve anything because, I don't know, Mercury is in some phase of Jupiter? Or the era hasn't come, it's the wrong one. You see, essentially, it's a more twisted, a veiled way of making excuses, all these astrological things. A bad year, a bad month, I'm having a crisis. And we believe in all of this. Can you imagine? We believe in all this nonsense. And now I'll just explain to you how it looks from the outside. Imagine every time you try to shift the blame for a failure onto this nonsense. Imagine having your grandchild next to you, for example, or your child, or future child, your little child. And now imagine your child says to you, "Well, Dad, tell me, please, why does your classmate drive an expensive car? He flies with his whole family to the best hotels in the world, but we drive as a Porzets and live on one pack of instant noodles." And you're like, "Well, because, son, you know, it's just the era." Well, I don't know, maybe it's a bad year, or it's a leap year, or some other nonsense. It wasn't meant to be for me to do it. And your son goes, "Got it, it wasn't meant to be. Dad, please tell me, did you try to do it?" And you're like, "Yes, I tried twice, and it didn't work out for me. And after 2 times, I realized it wasn't meant to be, definitely. Moreover, I even tried again later, and 5 more times, and realized that it definitely wasn't meant to be. And now, to back up my words, I'll show you an ad. The ad already makes you get up off your behinds. Take a look at this amazing ad. It's exactly about this wasn't meant to be. Let's watch.
Don't tell me about fate. Fate doesn't run a 5-kilometer before every workout. I'm not really fond of fate. Fate doesn't flab that much. Fate doesn't travel 2 hours just to train. I bet fate can't do it like this. Fate won't make you get up. Again and again. By the way, it wasn't a coincidence. I'm sure fate doesn't do that. Fate is an excuse. Fate doesn't remember. 5 seconds before the end, fate is in a panic. It's not fate that decides if we win. We decide. We decide. We decide. We decide. We decide. Control your fate.
You know, when I hear that it's not fate, or something like that, I imagine this woman who just slaps your hands, like, bam, don't try, that's enough for you, you've already tried twice. Now think about it, the only person who can influence your life, do you know who? That's right, you. You, and only you. There's absolutely no one else. Just imagine how much we clutter our own minds with all this medieval nonsense. People believe in, I don't know, anything and everything. Just imagine, even if a black cat crosses your path, like it's going to be a bad day, I don't know. Winning with empty buckets, someone spilled salt. And people believe in all this nonsense. I mean, just imagine, right? So my bad day depends on a mammal with black fur. It's just mind-blowing, right? So my life didn't work out just because, like, I was born in May, so I'll suffer. Well, really, it's just amazing. All attempts to make your life brighter go down the drain. You were born in May, so you'll always be in trouble. Just imagine how we program ourselves, how we program our brains. And you know what's the scariest part? It's all done by grown men and women, not even kids. Do you understand? These are adults, men and women, who sometimes even say, "I've lived my life." Of course, you've lived it. But what have you seen in this life? What have you done at all? I don't know, maybe you came home from work, turned on the TV, or got drunk on Fridays, or, I don't know, made barbecue in May for sure. Tradition, how can you go without tradition? And you know, I had a period of almost 6 years in a row where I didn't attend a single celebration. I missed many birthdays of all my loved ones, my relatives, children, wife. For almost 6 years, I was practically absent. And do you know for what? So that later I wouldn't miss a single one. And so that at each subsequent birthday, I could give them what they truly want. Imagine 6 years of hard work. I gave and risked practically everything. For 6 years, I didn't earn a single penny because I was building my future. Not a single penny did I earn. Until you give up the small things, you won't get the big ones. That's the law of life. But then, just last year, I traveled around half of Europe. I've been everywhere. Paris, Dubai, Liechtenstein, Switzerland, Germany, Cannes, Monaco, Turkey, Czech Republic. And that's not even the full list. Do you think I could have done this if I had just worked at my job as usual? As a programmer, I think the answer is obvious. No, even though I earned well there, I was still a slave. I had to definitely sit at work. I had something at the moment that asked for its beginning from the stack. Let's say everything is working fine and I can easily stay at home. If something goes wrong there, you call me and I'll be at work in half an hour, or I can stop by the office near my home and fix everything. The answer was, of course, brilliant. No, you must sit at work. In other words, the slave must be on the galleys. That is, he must know his place. That was truly brilliant. And I had to sit there. And even in principle, my salary was perfectly fine, but I still had vacation. There were 40 days, 30 days, and 10 days off didn't count. In the end, it turned out to be 40 days a month. I could take a vacation. The only good thing was that I could take vacation at any time, and I could distribute those 40 days however I wanted, like 10 here, another 10 there, 20, yes, but still, well, it's just mind-boggling, right? I mean, someone telling me when I should rest, how many days I should rest in a year, well, I don't know. For me, it was very oppressive, really, it just wasn't for me at all. In essence, yes, if you think about it, we are all, in principle, very lazy. We are very lazy. I mean myself included. We all often take the path of least resistance. That's where it all comes from. Everything. I'm telling you here, I'm primarily saying it through myself. So, I'm the same. We all want a huge house. We want to travel. We want to see the world. We want to interact with famous people. And we want to have everything, you know. But at the same time, we are not ready to change. Why do I need this? I'm already awesome. Yes, I'm super cool. I'm going to disappoint you once again. You won't be able to become successful as you are now. Remember, someone else will achieve success. Not you. And on this intriguing note, I'll end our video for today. I'll tell you everything in the next video. I'll explain why you won't become successful if you stay at the level you're currently at in your development. I'll tell you all about it in the next video. See you in the next video.